Here's Nana and Papa going through the mountains of Tennessee. It's 2:43 in the afternoon, and so far everything is perking along real good. We got a good start this morning just when we said we were going to leave, and Dad drove for almost 3 hours, and we stopped and changed, and I started to drive and went from a little bit before, about a half an hour or so, an hour before we got into Cincinnati. And after we got into Cincinnati and into Kentucky and started going through the hills, it started to pour. When Dad was driving it, we had little sprinkles here and there. But when we got into Kentucky, it just poured cats and dogs. And I drove for 3.5 hours. We couldn't stop. There was no place to stop. And I was following a bus for a while so we could see where we were going. And it was coming down so hard you couldn't see in front of you. And the road had no place for the water to go off. And it was like driving through snow. You'd hit all this big puddles of water, and I cut it down to, sometimes I was only going 40 miles an hour, and then it would pick up, and then when the bus would start out, why, I'd follow that because it was big and it had a lot of red lights around it. But we just thought it would never stop. And when it finally let up and we stopped at a rest area in Kentucky to have a sandwich, I said to Dad, I feel like I had to pry my fingers off of the steering wheel. Oh my gosh. After I went to the John, I walked around a little bit. I was so tense from driving, but there was no way you could stop and do anything about it, so I just had to keep going. We had a slice of toast and some coffee before we left, so we didn't stop for breakfast. And then when it was raining so hard, I said to Dave, we didn't even stop for breakfast, and I'm getting hungry, and we had to go to the Thule and everything. But finally we found a place, and it had let up and everything. And so we just split a ham sandwich, and Dad had a hard-boiled egg. And I brought that orange juice along. That was good. So we had that, and Dad had a beer. And so he's driving now. And we're in Tennessee already. We've gone 438 miles. Car is getting good mileage, almost 21 miles a gallon. And gas is a little more expensive. We paid $1.17 and we paid $1.20. But that isn't too bad like the last time, $1.40, and so that was quite a bit. The weather is really hot. We haven't had the air conditioning on, but we open the windows every so often. But when we stopped the last time for gas, boy, it's hot and real muggy from all that rain. Traffic is considerably heavier than we thought. Of course, Saturday afternoon maybe people are going, but even through all that rain, it was a lot of traffic. One thing I felt bad about, that going through Kentucky while I was driving, we missed all the beautiful trees, and every so often it would just let up a little bit so you could at least see where you were going, and the colors were beautiful even in the rain, but it wasn't like driving in the sunshine when you get to see them. Oh, Dad, here comes the sun, look. See, it's coming out a little bit. When it was raining so hard, Dad says, boy, I'm sure glad I brought my sunglasses. I go, well, don't worry, you'll need them for tomorrow. So little blonde beauty is perking along real good. Now that it stopped raining, we're starting to get a few bugs on the windshield. I was reminding Dad that when Barb and I came down last year, we were around Gainesville, and oh my gosh, here comes this black cloud at us, and it was all the love bugs. And they just splashed up against the windshield. We couldn't see where we were going. We had to stop, and I took some water off of one of the ice cans, and I had a sponge in the back, and we sponged off the windshield and tried to get that clean, and we drove for about a half an hour and splat another one and had to do it again. So I'm just wondering whether we're going to hit them in Florida or not. Considering that I had to go pretty slow with all that rain, we really made nice time, and the roads are good. A couple places when I was driving before it started to pour was some construction where it was cut down to one lane every so often, and that takes a little bit of time. Well, I'm sure glad I wore this long sleeve sweater. A few hot flashes and I'm schwitzing and schwitzing. I got so thirsty, and I said to Dad, gee, next time I'm going to bring a bottle of water. Nothing tastes good like water. He said, well, drink the orange juice. That's pretty watered down, but I didn't want anything sweet. So when we stopped at Days Inn, I went in and I need a little box of Kleenex. So I said to the girl, do you have a drinking fountain? And she said, no, but if you go in the restaurant part, they'll give you a drink. So I went in, and the nicest girl, and she filled a great big paper cup with ice and water. And I said, is there any charge? And she said, no, we don't have a drinking fountain, so we are glad to do it. And that tasted so good. Came out and gave Dad a swig of it, and then I swallowed it down. He wants to know why I have to go tinkle all the time. I said, that's my B6 working. So let's see, I guess that's about all. Nothing exciting on the road. We did see a terrible accident. It was on the other side. It was a big trailer truck turned over, and Dad, I was driving at the time, and Dad looked back and he said it looked like it had gone almost over a trailer. Really looked bad. Well, here's Norris Dam State Park, exit 128. Yes, we're on our way. Camping grounds, the next exit. No, we don't want to camp. Gee, that sun is coming out. It's going to be hot. We're going to have to put the air conditioning on, Dad. You want to say something, Dad?
I'm busy.
He's busy keeping his eye to the road, and he better just do that. Our sandwiches are real good, and we had a laugh because we were eating in the car because everything was all wet outside when we pulled up, and there was a little van next to us, and there was a grandma and a grandpa and a young couple, and oh, they had the sweetest little baby, and of course I had to talk to it a little bit. So the women opened up the box and brought out the sandwiches, and the men had the sandwiches. It was white bread, and it must have been a thick, inch thick. And I said to Dad, look, they got one thin slice of ham on there. And here I looked at ours, I said, gee, they would have made 10 sandwiches out of what we had. I only made the 2 sandwiches out of a good half a pound of shaved ham. And tasted real good. That's why we only eat a half. I think we'll eat the other half tomorrow, huh, Dad? We'll save time and expenses. Coming up is Route 441, Lake City. Well, we're thinking about you guys and wondering what you're doing today. Wonder if you had any bad rain. Boy, my ears are cracking. Wondered if you had any bad rain today. You were supposed to have a little rain, but oh, that really came down. It was something else. Haven't seen any cars for you, Scotty, yet. Past a junkyard back in the mountains back there. They had some wreckers down there. They didn't look too good though, honey. Don't worry, I wouldn't bring you one of those. Trees aren't turned as much here, are they, Dad? Look up in these mountains, and there's some yellow, and of course they have a lot of pine trees around here too that put in a lot of green. Well, guess I'll stop and talk to you again. Toodaloo! I think I better bring everybody up to what's been happening now. Today is Wednesday. It's 9:30 at night, and Dad is reading the paper, and we're watching the ball game. we're rooting for the Brewers, and they're ahead a little bit now by 1 run, but they better get going or else they're going to lose. On Tuesday, Dad and I went to the beach in the morning, and after we came back and got showered, why, I went up to Cut and Curl and asked for the same girl that did my hair last year, but she wasn't there, so she gave me another girl, and oh, she gave me the nicest haircut. Her name was Carmen, and she talked Linda like tick, 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 but a real nice girl, and she gave me a nice haircut, and she said, you'll really need one more haircut before I can get all the funny pieces out, because like I told you, it was cut up in so many funny different lengths. But I went out of there, I shampooed it first, and when I went out of there it was wet, and I haven't done a thing to it in the 2 days, and it's really nice, and I like it real well. While I was doing that, Daddy did some shopping, and that night we went real early to the Flying Bridge, and you wouldn't recognize the place. They're building on top of it, and they're going to be able to serve 150 people, and they're going to get a liquor license, and there's going to be windows all around that you'll be able to look out over the water. And that little driveway that went around it will be closed off, and underneath they're going to have a patio and a bar, I guess. And so I said to the girl when she served us, I said, gee, now that you're going to get fancy and be so pretty with this new building, I said, you're not going to get fancy and change the food and the prices, are you? And she said, oh, no. She said, everything's going to stay the same. She said, I've seen the plans, and they really are nice, so it's going to be a big improvement, too. Last night, about 9:30, Helen and Dorothy stopped in. They had been with O'Day's at the yacht club for dinner and had eaten real late, so then they stopped over here, and she brought me my goodie bag. She got me a real pretty white golf skirt trimmed in a little green, and she got me a darling wraparound skirt. One side is kind of a khaki color, and the other side is all tiny little patchwork. And then she got me a real pretty silk skirt, floral. It's real hard to describe, but it's awfully pretty. And they were $3 each. So I was real glad about that. And they liked their parsley. Helen didn't say too much because she doesn't cook too much with it, but Dorothy said, oh, I'm so glad. She said, I haven't had any for 2 years now because her sister sold her home, and she's in an apartment, and her sister used to grow it and always fix it for her. And she said, oh, let me smell it. She was real tickled about it. So they stayed till about 11 o'clock, and then we went to bed, and Dad and I got up this morning, and I called Ann Snellgrove last night first and asked if she wanted to play golf with us today. And we just played Golfgate. We played 18 holes, had to pull a cart, so I'm really tired. But it's a shorter course and everything, so she only played 11 holes, and then she walked in. She was real tired, too. She had played yesterday, but Dad and I finished playing 18 holes, and I really like my clubs now with the new grips on. Daddy said I did pretty good. And then we came home. I did 2 loads of wash. But, oh, it's so humid. We haven't had the windows or the doors open since we got here. And I'm just dying for a nice breeze so we can open up. We've had the air conditioning going constantly. But I put some things on the rack, and I stuck them out on the porch, and they were there for about 4 hours, and they hardly ever got dry because of humidity. The rest of the stuff is in the utility room. So then I said to Dad, let's take those old antique things out to Old Norman and get rid of those. And then Dad said on the way back he wanted to stop for some oysters at Captain Kurt's.
Got a haircut.
So we went out there, and my gosh, Norman is out of business. So I was really disappointed because I knew that he'd probably buy all this junk from me. So while we were there, the barber shop is there that Daddy always goes to, and he went in there, and the man's from Columbus. He's a younger fella than Dad a little bit, and Dad and him always kid around a lot, and so we sat there and had a lot of fun, and Dad got a real nice haircut, $5.25. So then we went to Captain Kurt's, and we each ordered a dozen, but I could only eat 6, but Dad, he finished my other 6. So I said, well, that was enough then, and when we come home, I had bought some noodles and had all the soup cooked ahead of time from the chickens, and so we each had a nice bowl of chicken noodle soup with my carrots I brought and celery and onions, and oh, it just tasted so good. So that's what we had for dinner tonight. So then in the paper today, they had a lot of sales, so we were almost out of toilet paper, and Wilco had it for $1.07, limited too. So Proctor is all finished being paved now, and you can go right down to Beneva from Proctor, and boy, we're there in no time now instead of going all the way around. So we went down, and then Daddy got 2 packages of TP, and I got 2. And then we got some frames for Toddy and Jason's picture. And I also bought another frame to put Dad's picture in because I didn't like that black one. So when we came home, Dad had to do all his finagling because they were the kind of frames that were stand-up. But he made some new backs for him and automatic hooks and things and hangers. And so we just hung those up now on my bedroom wall where Dad's picture was hanging by those little mirrors. And then I put Toddy on top and Jason down below. And it looks so nice. So when I go to bed, then I'll say, night, night, my boys. And in the morning, I'll say, good morning, Toddy. Good morning, Jason. And that'll be nice. When we first got here, we went to the health food store, and they had peanuts on sale for 69 cents. So we put those in the jar. I've been nibbling on those, and Dad had to have his Nusharai. So that's half gone, almost 3/4 gone. And so let's see. Friday, Daddy's going to play golf with the Swifties. Jerry Weiss and the rest of the Swiftie gang. So that'll be nice. And then today, last night, Clem Young called, and he invited Dad to be his guest for Mission Valley Guest Day next Wednesday. So they don't play till the afternoon, so I imagine it'll probably include dinner or something. I don't know too much about that. Well, we got the drapes all organized, how we're going to fix them and everything, and so we took them over yesterday to the dry cleaners here at the shopping center. And I'm only having them pressed. It's 60 cents a pleat. It'll cost about $25. But I said to Dad, we don't really know how they're going to look or anything, and so let's just get them pressed, because they really weren't too dirty, you know. And because they had never been dry cleaned, and they still looked to be in nice shape. They didn't have spots on them or anything. So we are only having them pressed, and we'll get those tomorrow. So tomorrow, Daddy wants to play golf again, and we called Pete because we know he's alone now after Millie died. And so he said he would probably meet us out there, but we have to play early, so we're going to play at 7:45 in the morning. So we're going to take a shower pretty soon and get to bed. I'll have to get up at 6:30. I told Daddy I was a little too tired to play, but then he reminded me that, you know, out there at the country club, you can take a cart, so that'll be good. I won't, and we'll be playing early in the morning, and it'll be nice and cool. It won't be as hot as it was today. We played at 10 o'clock, but oh my gosh, it was really hot. You were schwitzing and schwitzing and schwitzing. So let's see. Linda, did I tell you about Ruth, John and Ruth, that Ruth had a section of her intestine and bowel removed, and they found a tumor on one of the nodes in the groin. But she's had one treatment of chemo, and she has to have 3 more, and then she'll have to go on by mouth for a year. And she doesn't look too good, but yesterday afternoon after we were here, I said to Dad, or last evening after we came back from Flying Bridge, and I said to Dad, oh, I see their door open. I think I'll go down and wanted Dad to come too. And he said, well, he was going to talk to Clem and he'd come down later. So I went down and visited with him for a little bit. And she's doing pretty good mentally. She said, she pointed to her head and she said, up here I'm doing good. So they were having their carpeting cleaned today, and whenever they do that, why, they move right out of the apartment and go stay at a motel. I told them they could come down and stay here, and they said no, that they were going to go someplace. I don't know, they drive someplace and spend a couple of days till the carpet's all dry and everything. Their place is real cute, too. Bob hasn't sold his apartment, Bob that lived downstairs, and I understand now he was asking $55,000 and he's given it to a realtor, and the realtor is asking $59,900. How about that? Boy, I can hardly believe that, honestly. They were trimming the grass today, and Dad was out doing something, and I heard him holler, hey, hello, Joe. And there was good old Joe riding his bike, and he turned around right away, and so then I went out, and he asked, how's your beautiful daughter? And oh, she's such a nice girl, such a wonderful family. How long you going to stay? Oh, you never stay long enough. So we visited with him for a little while. Watered my petunias today, and they're picked off the old ones. They're really doing nice. They look so pretty up there. They like spread out. You know, they are really growing. And today, Dad looked out and he said, hey, look across at the pond. And right at the corner of the pond, to the left of our apartment, were two boys. One was about Jason's size and one was a year older. And they looked kind of alike. And I guess they were playing hooky from school. And they had brought a little lunch and a Coke. And they had a rope tied up onto the tree, and they were swinging on the rope and jumping in that dirty water. They had some old shorts on, and then they got out and they went behind the tree and they took off these dirty old shorts and rinsed them out in the water and put them on the tree, and then they sat behind the tree and had their lunch in their underwear. And then we saw them a little bit later. They had their clothes on, and they put their clothes on, and they had like baseball caps on. And it was about 3:30. I said to Dad, see, now they're going to go home and pretend they were in school all day. Such bad boys. I hope I don't hear any of my boys doing anything like that. Goodness sakes. Well, let's see, what else can I tell you? Oh, I just don't know anything else. It's just been so hot here, but we're still enjoying it very much. Had a sale on beer over at Winn-Dixie, so yesterday Daddy and I went over, but you could only buy 2 6-packs a person, so there again we doubled up, and I bought 2 and Daddy bought 2, so he's stocked up for a while now. When we went to Mickey's, I bought some bologna and I bought some Thuringer. So today I had a bologna sandwich with lettuce and a slice of tomato. Gee, my tomatoes taste good now. The ones you gave me, Linda, they really taste nice. It tasted real good. And Daddy bought Limburger, so he made himself Limburger and onion sandwich with a bottle of beer. Boy, did he relish that. I took 2 pictures today of the golf course. I don't know if you can really tell too much, but oh, it really looks bad. And we have so many egrets, Dad, you call them, those white birds?
Egret.
Egrets. They're the white birds. They look like a small chicken, you know, but they got a long neck on them. And gosh, I think there must have been 25 or 30 of them out in front of us. I guess there's a lot of little bugs now in that high grass, and the grass is seeding and everything. And they're all over there. They come about 4:30, 5 o'clock, and are eating over there. And today a bunch of gulls came to the water here. And there's some turtles, but we can't even see the turtles because the rocks are all covered up with the grass. The grass is, so high, and of course they can't cut it down. Gladys called yesterday, and she was saying she was glad to see we were here. And she said that she goes over almost every evening before it gets dark, and she walks around 3 times because she figures she needs the exercise, and she isn't playing golf because by the time you pack up your clubs, and this way they always used to go over and just even play a few holes if they wanted to. So I said to Dad, we'll have to take a walk around there some night too if we haven't walked. So Helen is so busy with her bridge and her cards, and tomorrow she's playing in the afternoon and she's playing in the evening, and so Friday afternoon she's playing. So I'm going over Friday morning, and Dorothy and I are going to go down to her beach and walk, and while Dad plays golf with the Swifties. So, oh, Linda, we got your card today, honey. That was so nice, and you had so many nice little things in there. I was glad to get it. We had other mail in there from United Way. Be a good neighbor and send in your contribution to United Way. That was the only mail we had. So I took those 2 pictures, and tonight then when we came back from Wilco, we stopped at Walgreens because they had a sale $1.99 for the developing. So I'll get them Friday, and then I'll send them to Honey because most of them are his. The only 2 are the ones that I took today. So then you can see them. I hope everybody's doing okay. Today being Wednesday, I was thinking about you working, honey, and hope that you weren't too tired. And
How about my 2 little plutocrats with the RPM raised?
oh yeah, Daddy, you tell him about it. Here.
Well, you can tell them.
Well, I don't understand all
All I
that.
know is that the boys are going to get 2 cents a share more each quarter. So that means that they got a bigger check coming every 3 months. My financiers.
That's good. That's what Dad said. Just think of those little plutocrats. They're going to be even getting the raise. Yeah, Freddie talked to Clem today, and he told him that they...
Paper.
Well, it was in the paper. We didn't know it, but Clem told him to look in the paper because they declared a bigger percentage on the dividends now. So... And I've been watching my roadway. My gosh, it's up to 55, was it, Dan?
It was 55, came down to 453 today.
Oh, did it? Gee, should have sold it yesterday when it was 55. But anyhow, that's going along good, too. We didn't put the lamp up that we brought down, the wall lamp. We're going to do that tomorrow afternoon, and we'll get the drapes, and Dad has to fix that rod and lower that down. And I told Helen about it. They were over the dry cleaners already and told her they weren't going to be able to go up the ceiling. And she said, well, that's all right. A lot of people don't have their draperies up to the ceiling. So I'm not even going to think about making a valance or anything. I think it'll be just fine the way it is. I'm coming to the end of this side now, and it's almost to the end, so I think I'll sign off. I'm going to take a shower. We're still watching the game. And then I'll probably flip it over and put something on the other side, because I'd like to put it in the mail, and maybe you'd get it in a couple of days. So we love you, and we miss all of you, and hope everything's okay. We haven't stayed up long enough to see the weather to know what's happening in Cleveland, but maybe tomorrow morning we'll get the early morning weather and see what's going. I hope it's nice for you. Have you been over to water the plants or look around, Linda? Did you remember to take the milk and whatever was there? Well, okay, children. Nana's going to take my shower, so I'm going to say toodaloo. Turn it over on the other side, please. and then I'm going to put it in the mail tomorrow. Yesterday was Friday, and in the evening we went down to, I got to back up a little bit. I went to the beach with Dorothy, and we stayed a couple of hours, and then when I came back, I did some cleaning, and Daddy played golf with the Swifties, and he enjoyed it very much. And then when he came home, while I was cleaning, and did we eat home last night? Where did we eat?
On the Leopard.
Oh, yeah. And then we went to a place that used to be the Leopard Boutique, and then it was a fancy restaurant in there, and now it's changed hands again. It's called the Golden Shrimper, and it's real cute inside. And Pete, when we were playing golf with him, he just raved about it and said he takes all his guests down there and everything. And it was okay. I had broiled scallops and shrimp, but there were only 2 shrimp in there, and they were sliced thin, you know, and a few scallops, baked potato, and a salad. Everything was very nice, but for $6.95, it was really, you know, hardly enough to say you had enough to eat. They didn't serve bread or rolls. It said served on request. And I had a cup of Sanka, and Dad had a cup of coffee. So right from there, we went to go up to the Sarasota Mall because they have the antique show. So I was looking for Margot up there to unload my 2 boxes, which I still have in the back of the car. So, but she wasn't there. But we parked by the end of Ma's, and we went in, and of course the jewelry counter is there, and Dad was looking in the jewelry, and a salesman came up and said, "Can we help you?" And Dad says, "Oh, no, thank you, we're just looking." And he said, "Well, feel free." And so I said, "Well, it's a busman's holiday." I said, "My husband's a jeweler also." He said, "Oh, is that so? Where are you a jeweler?" I said, "Cleveland." And he said, "Oh," he said, "I was a jeweler in Cleveland too. Whereabouts?" Well, he was at Cam's Corners when the plaza first was built. He had the shop that was right next to the bank, the Thrift Federal Bank there. And then he came down here, and he's been with Maz for 17 years, and he's like a district salesman or something. So we started talking, and so he said, "Have you always, where do you live in Cleveland?" We said, "Fairview." And "Did you always live there?" He said, "Oh, yeah." And he said, "Gee, I did too." He said, "I was born and raised on West 120th 3rd. And I said, "Oh, really?" "Well," I said, "I was raised on 128th Street. He said, "Did you go to Nathaniel Hawthorne?" I said, "I sure did." Well, that started an hour conversation. We started to talk. He told me his name, and I vaguely remembered, but his sister was older, and Dad said he thought he remembered her name. He don't know why, but maybe she's a customer or something. But anyhow, he said,
His name was Hafner.
Yeah, his name was Hafner, Ray Hafner. He said, "Would you happen to remember Mrs. Burkhardt?" I said, "Oh, Mrs. Burkhardt, she was my favorite teacher." "What about Mrs. Huntley?" "Oh, yeah, Mrs. Huntley." "What about, did you have Mrs. Bampton in kindergarten?" "Yeah, Mrs. Bampton in kindergarten." And he was about 3-4 years younger than me, but he was there at the same time. So he started to tell me this long story. About a few years ago, this lady came in and bought some jewelry, and her name was Mrs. Burkhardt. They got talking about Cleveland, and she looked at him, and she said, "What was your name?" And he said, "Hafner." And she said, "Ray Hafner, I remember you are the safety patrol." What a memory, he said she had. Well, anyhow, Mr. Burkhardt had died, and then she married another man, so she came in and got her jewelry from him. And then he died, and now she's married to the 3rd man. And he said that they're just like bosom buddies. He said she's head of this and that and the other thing. She's in her 80s, which she'd have to be. And not only that, she invited him and his family over to her house here in Sarasota. She had pictures of all the teachers, the kids, and all the events. He said, "Well, you're probably at even some of those pictures." I said, "Well, I used to play the piano in the orchestra, and I danced at all the carnivals and everything." He said, "Oh, my gosh, Well, we talked and talked and talked. So Dad gave him a card, and he took my name. He said, oh, she'll be in one of these days. Every time she comes in the store, she stops to talk. Isn't that funny? Can you believe that? Oh, that was so much fun. We really enjoyed that. Then he and Dad were talking business and everything, and finally I says, oh, come on. I was getting tired of standing there talking. I said, come on, we got to get going. We got to get going. He said, oh, stop again, and I'll let you know if Mrs. Burkhardt comes in. So anyhow, then we went. Of course, we didn't find Margot. And so we start looking around. And of course, they all say we buy and sell. But, oh, some of them look like such connoisseurs, Linda, like they're going to, offer you nothing or insult you. And then we went to look at this one place, and we started talking about it and something, and she was there, and she was a real nice person, my age, and blonde, and very refined. You wouldn't really expect her. You'd expect her more as someone in a dress shop, that owned a dress shop or something. She was dressed real nice. So we walked away, and then we walked away, and I said to Dad, gee, I wonder if I should ask her about buying. Dad says, well, why not? So I went back, and I said I had a couple of boxes of things that had been from my dad's, who was retired and in a home, and I had them here, and I said, I really don't know what they're worth or if there's anything you'd even be interested. So she said, I'd be interested in anything. She said, I have a shop right up at Gulfgate. Are you anywhere near? I said, yeah. So it's right up on the trail, and so she said she's there every day, but Saturdays, her husband's there on Saturday. So she gave me her card, and her name was Mickey Rowe. And I said, oh, are you Mickey? She said, yes. I said, well, I'm Jane. And she says, well, Jane, I'll be waiting to see you. And I said, well, I do know there's sherbets and things, but I said there's like 3 of one and 2 another. And she said, oh, you'd be surprised how people come in only to look for 1 or 2 from their pattern. So she said, just bring them in. I'd be glad to look at them. So that's what I'm going to do Monday and get rid of it, whatever it is, There were an awful lot of dolls there. And she said she only has a few, but she said antique dolls are becoming very, very popular. That people are collecting dolls now more than they ever did for years and years and years. Some of them were so interesting. I just love to see them. So anyhow, that was yesterday, and we went to bed early as soon as the game was over. And no, the game wasn't yesterday. Yesterday they didn't play. That was it. But anyhow, this morning we woke up and it was cloudy and cold and such a difference from the day before. So I said to Dad, well, today we ought to do running around then instead of waiting to see if it's going to clear up. So we started out and we went to self-serve shoe store because they had an ad about golf shoes, and Dad wanted to get another pair, and I'd like to get another pair too. So we looked, and oh, the stuff was so crummy, and the prices were so high, we couldn't believe it. And I didn't even see any grasshoppers or anything to buy for myself. So we stopped, and after we had gone there, and we went down to Jay's, and their prices were just, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. And some of the crummy things they had left from the summer, and they were still getting good prices for them. So when we came out of there, Dad says, oh my gosh, look, it's 12 o'clock already. I said, well, you know what? I said, you've never been to the Camel's Den. Wouldn't you like to go there? And he said, well, what do they got? I said, well, they got a lot of interesting things, someplace you'd never go. So we stopped at the Camel's Den, and I had the ham, turkey, lettuce, tomato, and curry sauce in, it isn't pita bread, it's the Greek bread. They're like 2 big pieces instead of the pocket in them. And Dad had the brown Schweiger onion and tomato with some kind of a Greek sauce over it, And we each had a glass of beer. Well, they were so huge. Dad says, well, I can't eat all this. I said, I can't either. So we asked for a container, and so we cut them in half, and we each had a half of it and put it in the container, so we're going to have it for lunch tomorrow. So, then we came back and the ball game was on and we watched the ball game, and before we left I said to Dad, how would you like pork chops tonight? I said, we don't like to eat out every night, and gosh, it's really expensive. You can't get any kind of a decent, just a little meal for like $6.95, $7.95, and then your coffee, and it isn't really, a heck of a lot. So he said, oh yeah, so I defrosted 2 of them. And, oh no, we went over also to the shoe store there, where that store is like Bilo's, and we went to that shoe store, and they had a few things. They have a nicer grade of shoes, but God, their prices, I bet you only save $2-3 from buying them in a department store. So, but we went in there, they had a sale on beer, Blatt's beer, and I needed some foil, and I bought a package of chicken corn, and I got my little Smiley pumpkin out. I'm looking at him right now, and he's smiling at me. Got him on the little table here, and I put a plastic bag in like you did, Linda, and I filled the chicken corn with it. So we had baked pork chops, and we had gratin potatoes. I bought a bag. They're called Idahoan from at that discount store. So I only made half of it. I measured out the cheese sauce and the stuff, and I just made half and put it in a little casserole. And it was real good. And we had applesauce, and we had gherkins. And Daddy always helps me with the dishes. And while we were doing the dishes now, the most beautiful sun came out. It was just gorgeous, just a orangey, purpley color, just beautiful. And it was shining so bright that over on the golf course, it was shining over into there. And I said to Dad, gee, I wish I had my good camera here where I could go out and take a picture. It was just so beautiful, even though it's such a mess here. Somebody told us that they read in a legal paper that the golf course is going up for auction because the people could not finish paying for it. So Mr. Weiss said that he was going to try to get some people together to see if they wouldn't buy it and keep it as a golf course, just the 9 holes, because the other they've got all cleared away and a big stone fence in the front with the entrance to put in there for houses. So I wish they'd do something with it. I said to Dad, oh, wait till the Colonel gets here and he looks at that mess. A lot of beautiful birds, Dad's so glad we got the binoculars. He keeps them right here by his chair because he's identifying with so many of the birds and gets the book out and everything. And it's just like a pasture land. We even, all the white cattle egrets, cattle egrets, the kind that eat the bugs and they sit on the back of the cows and pick out the bugs and everything. They're all over, like I counted 43. And then when one flies, they all fly, and it's really pretty to watch. It's just like living out in the country now. Oh. So anyhow, I put the stuff in the oven tonight, and the telephone rang, and Dad was there. He answered, and it was Florence Fisher. And they've been here for 2 weeks now. They're at Bradenton. And so she and I talked, and so she said, oh, we want to get together. And I said, well, Florence, why don't you come down here? And she said, well, I'm calling you to ask you to come up here. So she said, we're not really all straightened around yet. She said, we had a lot of work to do when we came in, and she said the one bedroom's all full of junk and everything. And I said, well, I'm not fancy, but I said, why don't you come? I said, come either Tuesday or Thursday. So she said, well, that'd be fine. So they're going to come about 10 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to go to the beach, and then we'll probably go out to Flying Bridge or something for supper. She says, oh, we'll just come late in the afternoon, and then we can go out to eat. And I said, oh, come and spend the day. So I said to Dad, I'll make picnic lunch and put it in the ice box, and we'll go to the beach, and then we'll sit and have our lunch, and then we can come back and get cleaned up, and then we can go out to Flying Bridge or something. But she said she really wanted to call me too. She said that she really gets lonesome for everybody at home, and Darlene is expecting in March, and so they're going to go back in March because she's going to have natural childbirth, and so Flossie wants to go. So tomorrow morning, bright and early, is the Jewish sale, and we want to be, I said to Dad, he didn't have to go. He says, well, I might as well go along too. I'm not going to sit here. So we're going to go real early in the morning and be there when they open, and then get back in time to go to church. Church is until 10:30. And so we'll be able to go to church then too. And I hope it's nice. We can maybe get an hour or two in at the beach, and then we're going to pick up Pete at 4:30 and go to Helen's and have a drink, and then go to some place in Venice called Smitty's. She said was real nice, and then go back and play cards there, the 5 of us. And Ann Snellgrove called today and invited us to come Monday night to play cards. And Ann's got a boyfriend. I guess I told you that before, but he's real nice, and they eat most of their meals together, and he cooks and she goes over there. And I don't know if I told you all this. If I did, I'll repeat it, but if I didn't tell you, well, I'm not going to play the tape back to find out. But he's 86 years old, and when we met him at the golf course, you wouldn't believe it. He has a real nice figure, and he isn't all wrinkled up, and he plays golf, and he also plays a cello, and he's translating a Spanish book into English, and she said he's reads and said he wants to live to be 100. I said, well, he probably will if he keeps himself like that, you know. Exercises, swims in the Gulf every day, goes to the beach, and Ann's happy, so I guess she's going to have him over. So let's see. I guess that's about all. I'm not going to try to. Tomorrow, when we come back from the sale, I'll let you know about that, and then I want to wrap this up and put it in the mail, so you'll eventually get it, honey. It seems it's taken me so long to get this going, but these are these long tapes, and they're an hour on each side, and that's quite a bit to fill up. Of course, I can talk a little bit longer, I know. Right? Well, how are you, Jason? How are you, Todd? I really miss you. I see the kids getting off the bus when they go to school here, too. And I imagine you're doing the same thing. Hope the weather's nice for you so you don't have to stand out in the bad weather when you get the bus. But you got those nice winter clothes, and I know that'll keep you nice and warm. Did you go over and see Nana's house and say hello to all my plants and tell them that I miss them? And how is my little gardenia? I told Daddy that it was blooming. Isn't that nice? Well, next year it'll bloom for Nana, too. Oh, let's see. Anything else, Dad? Dad's taken 20 minutes on the couch, so I guess he doesn't want to say anything. Got a couple good recipes out of the Pelican this week. There was a real good recipe. Oh, and Jason and Todd, guess what happened? Yesterday, up at the bank, right on the trail, the main street up there, the teller girl at the teller window looked out, and guess what was there? A big boa constrictor, 12 feet long. And they quick called the county, it's like a pest control, but it's an animal center of something at the time. But the people that drove up couldn't believe it, and they were staying there, and he slithered himself right over on the concrete where it was nice and sunny. And then 2 men that were there, they stood guard because they didn't want him to go out onto 41 and get run over or cause the cars to have an accident or anything. And so every time he started to move, they would pull his tail and pull him back, and he'd raise his head at them. And of course, boa constrictors aren't down here in Florida, so they figured it must be somebody's pet. But who the heck ever let go of a big 12-foot boa constrictor. I don't know. So the article in the paper had a picture on it about it, and it said that then finally the men came, and I don't know how long it took them to lift them and get them in the caged truck that they brought along, and now they have them in like an animal jail, they said. And if somebody doesn't claim him in a day or so, they're going to have to go out and catch some rats and stuff for him to eat. But they said they wished whoever owns them and missed their boa constrictor would come and get them, because they don't even have any room for them. Wouldn't that be something to drive up and see this big boa constrictor? Oh my goodness. Well, I guess that's all I'm going to tell you that's interesting. A baby whale came up on the beach not too far from here the other day too. And the people that were in the water went out and tried to get it to go back out, and it went out a little bit, but it kept beaching itself. And so they quickly came and put it in a tub and took it to SeaWorld. But today's paper had an article about it, and it said that it was surviving, but it wasn't eating, so they were going to feed it intravenously and try and keep it. So they had a picture of it as it was trying to come up on the beach all the time. Guess it didn't like to live in the water anymore. I don't know. Lots of interesting things like that happen down here. Poinsettias are growing real nice. They're so nice and green, and my petunia is looking real good too. Well, I think when Daddy wakes up from his 20 minutes, we're going to walk around the complex a few times, because we didn't do any walking today. We just did that riding in and out and in and out. So okay, I'll let you know what I get at the sale. Toodaloo. Hello again. This is Tuesday evening. We started to watch the ball game, and it was pouring, and they're holding up the game. So I'm going to finish this tape so I can get it in the mail tomorrow. Florence and Bert Fisher came this morning about 10:15, and after we visited for a little while, we went to the beach, put on our suits, went to the beach, and I made tuna fish salad and some snacks and things, and we parked the car, and then we went for a real long walk at Turtle. Came back, and under the tree at those tables, we had our lunch, and then we sat in the on the beach for a while, and it was so warm, so we all got in the water and bounced around for a little while and cooled off, and then we went for a walk down the other end. And then when we came back, while we sat on the porch, it was real nice, and then we all took showers and went to Flying Bridge, and then they went home. And they both look real good and are enjoying Florida, but Bert said that this was the best time that he ever had since he's down in Florida. He kept saying to Florence, why don't we go to the beach and do this? They go fishing, and they're in a mobile home, so they get involved with everybody in the park. But they both had such a good time, and we collected shells, and I told her which was which, and they never knew one shell from another, the names or anything, and they're going to start saving the colored glass and all the little things like that. And they both look real good, and we had such a nice time with them. They're old friends, and they just wear so well. So they wanted us to come down like next week, but Dad says, well, time is going to be short, and we're so busy and everything. So we said that when we come down next year, why, we would get together with them, and maybe more than once. Maybe go fishing. Bert and Florence like to fish, too. Before we went to Turtle Beach, we took them and showed them Crescent Beach and the white sand. They couldn't get over that. And then we took them to St. Barnabas, and there was nobody there, of course, and so we went in, and they just couldn't get over that organ and the kneeling pads and how beautiful it was, and we walked all around the grounds. They liked that real well. And after we left Flying Bridge, then Dad took them all around Casey Keith, all those beautiful homes. And they liked that too, so they had a real good time. And we talked about old times and new times, and then they were saying about when they moved in down there, they were so surprised because they met this couple, and this girl used to go to to Bert's church, and he used to go to the Dutch Reform. And Florence happened to mention her name, Marie Pape. I said, Marie Pape from that the Dutch Reformed Church? I said, well, you must have known John Nyland. He said, oh, I knew John Nyland. So we told him all about that. And Marie Pape and I used to work at Federal Reserve Bank. Can you believe that? So when they go home, they're going to tell her right away that they saw me. And they knew Eva and Elmer France and the whole gang. So, we had a lot of laughs. And so it was really, really nice. We had a real nice day. We come home and we were tired, and we both put on our nighties, and I had all the towels from the beach and the towels that we all took showers, so I quick threw those in the washer and hung them up in the utility room. And we started watching the game, and Dad made popcorn. He tried to make it with some old popcorn the other night we had here, and it wasn't any good, so I bought some Orville Reichenbacher and some oil, and Dad made a big bowl of popcorn, and I had a Pepsi, and he had a beer, and that was pretty good too. I sent a letter to Todd and Jason, and I sent the church program and a note to Dad, and then I sent the church program and a note to Rod, and I want to put this in the mail tomorrow. Daddy's going to play with Clem Young. It's guest day at noon. I'll take him down, and I'm going to go to the beach, and then I should come back at 5:30, and then we were going to go out and have a bite to eat with Clem and Helen.